Hello and welcome to Newsbreak Chats. Magandang araw sa inyong lahat. Ako si Chay Hofileña, ang investigative editor ng Rappler. I also head Newsbreak, the section where you can read the latest and hottest investigative stories that our reporters and researchers jointly work on. Bukod dyan, mababasa nyo rin ang explainers, in-depth at latest inside stories na nakalap ng aming reporters. Noong huling episode ng Newsbreak Chats, kung maalala ninyo, pinag-usapan natin ang nawawala at di pa rin mahanap na pastor ng Kingdom of Jesus Christ na si Apollo Quiboloy. Kinumpile namin ang latest investigative stories tungkol sa kanya sa iisang page. Siguraduhin i-bookmark ang page na ito. Apollo Quiboloy and the Kingdom of Jesus Christ, From Abuse to Multi-Million Properties. Bukod kay Quiboloy, may iba pang sinilip na issue ang dalawang reporter ng Rappler na sina Lian Buan at Iya Gozum. Ito ay may kinalaman naman sa environment, fisherfolk, rule of law, justice, code of ethics, salasalabat na sila. Si Lian ay bahagi ng Justice Cluster at si Ian naman ay sa Environment Cluster ng Rappler. Pagkukwentuhan namin maya-maya lang ang kanilang two-part investigative story tungkol sa conflicting private interests ng ilang government regulators sa fishing industry and why you should care about this issue. Welcome to Newsbreak Chats, Lian at saka Iya.
Happy to be back on Newsbreak Chats.
O, diba? So, simulan siguro natin sa how it all started and papaano. Kasi naalala ko, nag-uusap kayong dalawa nung planning natin nung December sa Batangas.
Correct.
And then, nabanggit ninyo ito. So, how did it all come to be? Saan nagsimula?
Sa akin siya nagsimula. It started how all stories go. Kwentuhan, chikahan with sources who were privy to information and have some documents in their possession. But at that time, iba yung premise na pinanggagalingan nila. They just wanted to share documents. It was a little, yung premise na pinanggagalingan nila is just the general premise na, oh, may tracker system na pinipigilan, which was at the time was already known kasi katatapos lang ng oral argument sa Supreme Court. So it began with parang ganyan kakapal na documents na print, and at first parang wala namang storya dito. So it took a little bit time because the premise of the sources were different to what we were able to prove later on.
So, nagsimula sa inuman at basamento.
Oo, nagsimula sa inuman. And then I followed up nung sober na kaming lahat if I could have access to those documents.
So, paano mo naman nahila or nahatak si Iya?
Nung last year, pagbalik niya ayun yung una kong alala kay Lian. Kasi before, bago umalis si Lian for London, I was part of the social media. So, hindi kami talaga masyado nag-interact. So, yung first nalapit niya talaga sa akin, parang, meron akong may makukuha akong ganitong documents on the three big fishing operators, etc. And ako naman, ang basic lang yung knowledge ko about it kasi kakatapos lang ng oral arguments. So, alam ko lang yung mga basic issues na delineation ng 15 kilometers, yung meron palang vessel monitoring system, so all those basic lang. Tapos parang late last year, sinasabi lang ni Lian na, I will read up on it and then I will follow up. Tapos yun nga nung nag-planning ng December, parang sinalang lang namin na in-depth pa lang siya, in-depth, parang gano'n. Parang may idea lang kami na malaki siyang story, pero hindi namin alam na gano'n
kung
pala
ano
siya.
Actually, Ma'am Chay, yung premise kasi nila, yung mga nagbigay ng documents, is the regular premise of a person frustrated with how regulations go. Parang bakit nananalo tong mga big fisher? Bakit sila panalo sa regional trial court? So that was their premise. Parang tignan. We didn't know that when we would dig up more, it would connect to the National Telecommunications Commission. Kasi hindi sila nabanggit nung inuman. They were not in the picture.
So, nung simula, parang legal ang approach.
Yeah.
Parang ganon yung akala niya
Yeah.
tatahakin ng
Yeah.
storya. And then, when you were reading that thick pile of documents, doon na ba lumabas yung mga VMS, yung mga 7 fathoms ba?
7 fathoms
Sabi ko,
na...
what is that?
Ginagamit ko pala yung ganong
yung 7
measurement.
fathoms na, at anong relevance niya dun sa issue, di ba? So, anong naging motivation for pursuing this story? Kung medyo technical siya, tapos ganong kakapal na dokumento, kagad yung bumungad sa iyo.
Ako, for me, Ma'am Jay, kasi exciting siya. Hindi ko rin
Na-excite
sure.
ka sa dokumento.
Hindi ko rin sure bakit siya exciting when it's very technical na 15 kilometers. Naalala ko parang lagi namin tinatanong ni Lian sa mga sources namin, paano natin i-visualize yung 15 kilometers? Paano i-visualize yung 7 fathoms? Paano siya i-explain? Paano magkakaroon ng paki yung mga tao? Pero I think one of the motivations din, parang hindi pa namin alam gaano kalaki yung story, ano yung mga moving parts, pero we understand na it's big and kailangan siyang ikwento, kailangan siyang i-report.
Sa akin, Ma'am Chay, it was just, what made it exciting for me was, parang at every juncture, no matter how slow those junctures would follow each other, merong bagong clue. So it was just a matter of leading where the clues take you. Kasi sabi nga, diba, parang iba yung premise nung unang discussion. And then, when I looked at the documents, ang nakikita ko pa lang at that time, bakit hindi nagkakasundo ang NTC and BEFAR? So parang ganun lang kasimple yung appreciation ko ng story. And when I dig the documents, parang lumabas na, ay, may panibagong kaso na not related to VMS, but because case folders are always parang lahat ng related pinapasok, ganyan. Nakita ko, may isang 4th big fishing company na hindi siya kasama dun sa 3. So, I said, maybe we should get the business records of these 4. And then yung 4th, isa sa mga, yung chairperson ng 4th fishing company has the same surname as the NTC chairperson whose commission delayed the implementation of the tracker. So that was the first exciting part. Are they related? Tapos wala silang public profile. Doon actually kami nagtagal to prove that they were related.
Sige, para siguro maintindihan nung ating mga nanonood, ano ba yung major findings ninyo? And then how did all this, yung exciting discoveries fit in? Ano yung highlight siguro nung discoveries ninyo?
Siguro yung nasabi na rin ni Lian, yung link to the family. Kasi parang we always, parang yung usual story na collusion between government officials, government agencies, so nakita natin yun sa NTC, sa OSG, and then at some level, yun pang judge sa RTC. Pero nung nakita namin na same surnames yung nandun sa business record ng Mercader Fishing Corporation at same sa surname ng then NTC chief, no? Parang doon na kami na nila na how are they related? Magkapatid ba sila? Mag-asawa ba sila? Etc. etc. And I remember dun sa unang draft na binigay namin, hindi pa siya sure. Parang ini-imply pa lang namin. And then you commented, Ma'am Chay, na hindi, dapat sure.
Dapat sure kayo.
Dapat sure kayo. And that really, that seemed like a very small detail. Pero nagbigay siya ng ibang dimension dun sa story.
Paano yung paghahalukay na ginawa nyo? Kasi, syempre, push, di ba? Parang maganda yung elements ng storya, parang okay naman siyang in-depth, pero bakit in-depth lang? Parang, sige pa, konti pang hukay. So, how did you go about it? In terms of method, siguro, parang ano-ano yung ginawa ninyo para masigurado yung hindi pa sigurado dun sa first draft?
It was a mix of source documents, as in binigay, and then ang maganda sa storyang to, may mga crucial documents na inadvertently na iibigay ng mga taong ayaw sanang ibigay yun. Pero sa kapupush, may gusto silang patunayan. Magbibigay sila ng replies, mag-a-attach sila ng documents, and then boom, yun pala yung kailangan mo that probably they wouldn't have wanted. Like, for example, the fact that Solicitor General Jose Calida overturned his associates. 'Di ba dapat kampi na dapat yung OSG sa BEFAR eh. Okay na sana i-implement
dahil pareho
ng
silang
VMS.
gobyerno.
Correct. Kasi 'di ba the tribune of the people nga. And it was in the interest to prevent unregulated fishing. The fact that Soljan Calida overturned his associates on the request of the NTC. That was a detail that I found in a document given to me by the NTC itself when they wanted to defend themselves na parang, OSG ang nagbigay sa amin ng green light, ito nga,
Ito yung basis
ito yung basis namin. And then, new information yun that came about. I didn't know that may nireverse siyang mga associates niya until such time that I got my hands on those documents.
So Lian, I suppose, nakafocus ka dun sa legal, sa NTC, sa OSG. Tapos, Ian naman, paano kayo nagsanib puwersa? How did you complement each other, in other words? Given your expertise at saka yung network ninyo.
Lahat ng kalikasan sa kanya, lahat ng abogado sa kanya.
Basically, parang hindi na namin pinag-usapan paano namin ihahati yung trabaho. Parang may understanding na lang na all legal sa kanya. Tapos sa akin yung fishing and environment areas. Pero parang in the middle of the syempre babasahin ko rin yung mga court documents. Parang tinanong ko siya, so ito pala yung buhay mo, no? Ito yung mga kailangan mong intindihin. And also to add to, sa sinabi ni Lian kanina na government officials, government agencies protecting their interests. May isang time na tinatry kong kunin yung response ng BFAR. Lagi na ako nag-message sa kanila on different issues. Pero nung binring up ko yung, sir, ano po yung nangyari noon with the NTC nung nagkaroon ng ganung debacle inside within government agencies. Parang doon pa lang first time nag-reply. So mararamdaman mo na thorny issue talaga siya sa kanila. Even when they say na NTC and BFAR are now working together for the implementation of the BMS. Pero mararamdaman mo na nagkaroon ng issue before sa VMS. And also...
Ano ang VMS? Paliwanag mo lang.
VMS is the Vessel Monitoring System. So, mandated siya under the law. It's our effort to curb illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing. So, basically, mag-i-install ka ng transceivers, mga transceiver units sa mga commercial fishing vessels. So, meron kang real-time data, nasan sila, ano yung activity nila. So, that's something that we do. And not only the Philippines. It's a worldwide practice.
Bakit kailangan gawin yun?
We have to track our vessels and we have to track the catch para na-monitor natin yung resources. Sustainable pa ba yung fishing na ginagawa natin?
May isda pa ba sa dagat?
May isda pa ba sa dagat? And also, I guess it's also part of tracking kung ano yung magiging activities and revenues ng mga malalaking commercial fishing companies.
Okay. So, tama ba? Essentially, ang naging storya, ang naging findings ni Lian at saka ni Iya is merong regulators dapat on the part of government, BFAR, tsaka NTC. NTC ang nagbibigay ng
the connectivity device.
Yung devices na ini-install sa lahat ng fishing vessels.
They will approve, yes.
Oo. At kailangan merong device na yon in all the fishing vessels para nakikita sila ng government regulators.
Yes.
Pumapasok na ba sila sa municipal waters? Dapat off limits yan kasi reserved yan for the small fisherfolk, pero eto na sila. Tapos ang nakita ni Lian, NTC.
Bakit nila pinigilan ang pagbigay ng device? Kasi that was very glaring to me from the documents. Kasi makikita mo strong yung language ng BFAR na, no, we want to implement kahit pa may lower court injunction kami, we want to implement. And then you have the NTC saying, don't implement. So for me, that was weird kasi bakit dalawang government agency hindi magkasundo? And doon na pumasok yung OSG na bakit pinayagan ng
OSG is
Office of the Solicitor General, which always acts as the lawyer of, gives legal counsel to virtually all of the government agencies. At bakit kaya nag-side si OSG with the NTC? Actually, the first discussion, sa OSG kami nakasentro kasi bakit nga pumayag yung OSG na i-delay yung trackers, ganon. Yun nga. And then I would find out, hindi pala yun yung unang legal opinion ng OSG. They were just overruled by their boss at the time.
And it became interesting kasi nga, ang nakita ninyo is may conflict of interest. Na kaya pala nag-decide si NTC na wag ipagpatuloy yung pagbibigay ng transceivers and the numbers is kasi yung head ng NTC at that time
is married
to
the chairperson of Mercedar Fishing Corporation, a commercial fishing company who is also involved in another lawsuit.
Di ba conflict of interest? Di ba dapat hindi ginagawa yun?
Yeah. Actually, nung titignan ko nga kung same surname, baka naman same surname lang, I found it weird that there's no available public information about his family. Kasi usually, di ba, pag government official ka, yung profile mo sa website.
Yes.
Kasi tas nakakatawa pa, if you go to COA's website, all other commissioners, he's married to his wife with 3 beautiful children. Mga ganon. Kasi proud sila sa pang-family nila. Whereas Attorney Gamaliel Cordoba has no information on who his family is. So, medyo ko, kaya tinatago to. The easiest route would have been to get his SALN and see the names of
Good
his
luck
family
sa SALN.
members. Pero dahil nga binawalan na tayo ni Ombudsman Samuel Martires na makakita ng SALN.
Na hindi dapat.
Ang hirap. Actually, pending pa rin yung request for SALN natin ngayon. So we had to resort to stalking on Facebook and Instagram para...
Pareho nyo bang ginawa yun?
Yes.
Stalking?
So, yan yung nakakita nung account ng wife ni Gamaliel Cordoba. And then, nung nakita na niya, dun na nag-start yung problem, hindi kasi namin siya friend. So, hindi namin makikita yung mga public post niya. So, wala ito. Basic lang profile photos.
So, the Facebook name is not her name.
Yeah.
So, kailangan ng maraming dapat kailangan kang marunong mag-stalk sa Facebook para makarating.
Years of experience.
So, may halaga pa rin kahit paano ang Facebook.
In that case, yes, because especially Filipinos post almost all details of their lives. And remember, Ma'am Chay, yung story ako about the deaths in Bilibid before. I would not have been able to confirm it if not for families posting about the wake of their dead PDL families.
Ano ba yung mindset dapat ng isang reporter? Kasi 3 buwan nyo tong tinrabaho, di ba?
Ako kasi dahil, syempre mas bagong reporter kaysa kay Lian, yung takeaway ko talaga dito, pukpukin mo yung story if you follow your gut. Kasi minsan mag-message si Lian, parang, eto na, hanap ko na to. So ako, mag-pressure ako na parang, okay, kailangan ko magtrabaho, kailangan ko hanapin yung ganito, kailangan ko hanapin yung ganito. And then to always just ask and ask and ask. And then ask clearly, straightforward.
Specific questions.
Yung mga simple questions na, yun kasi yung mga tanong na nakakatakot tanongin, yung mga direkta na.
Natakot ka ba?
Medyo po. Pero parang, dun sa tail end na nung pagsulat nung story, parang yung mindset mo na lang, you have to finish the story, you have to complete the story. Nakikita mo na siya. Kailangan mo lang yung quote na ganito. Kailangan mo lang ng confirmation na ganito. Pero alam mo na yun eh. Kailangan mo lang manggaling from the right people. And you have to do everything you have to do to get that. Like going to Nueva Ecija, and then ambushing secretary. Nakakatawa. I think I already mentioned this to you, Mami Chay. Pero that ambush happened. Parang ang tagal ng biyahe namin to Nueva Ecija. Nasiraan pa kami ng bus. So, mas matagal pa yung papunta doon. And then, pagpunta namin doon, nagsalita lang si secretary.
Sinong secretary to?
Secretary Francisco Chu Laurel of the Department of Agriculture. And then, nagpa-ambush na.
Fishing tycoon.
Yes,
correct.
who is a fishing tycoon.
Also.
So, he knows this stuff so well. Like the back of his hand. And then, nag-ambush. Of course, the other reporters were asking yung mga pressing issues like importation ng galunggong, ng mackerel, ng bonito. And then,
here comes Iya.
Here comes me. Sir, so, 15 kilometers. I was mentioning 15 kilometers, 7 fathoms. Tapos parang, nasagot
out of tune ka.
Sobrang out of tune.
Okay.
So, after katanungin, parang sabi ng isang reporter, so, sir, balik po tayo sa galunggong.
Hayaan mo na po ito.
Pero dun na rin nabuo yung story. And I think I was still in Nueva Ecija when we published the first part.
Did you feel emotional at any point nung binubuo ninyong dalawa ang storyang to?
Dun po sa part na nasa social media, sleuthing na kami ni Lian. Kasi parang, alam ko na malaki siyang story, pero hindi ko in-expect na it will delve into the intimate and personal details. Like, doon ko na-realize na huge stories like this actually lie on the intimate personal details of people. Like, Gamaliel Cordoba's marriage to... Ang saya namin na nakita namin yung marriage,
What is her name?
wedding photo.
Monica
Monica
Cordoba.
Cordoba. And then we saw photos in Malacanang, yung mga usual Filipino post na bonding ng family, pero yung bonding kasi ng family nila with government and government events. So yun, parang it felt like encroaching
Intruding on their private lives.
on their private lives. Pero
Ikaw,
public officials.
did you feel the same way?
Siguro, bago yun to add, the intrusion into their private lives would lead us also to the details that 2 other members of the Cordoba family also own Mercedar. So, halos owned ng buong Cordoba family. The fishing company. And the other is from a former deputy commissioner of the NTC who worked under Commissioner Cordoba. But during that time, I don't know, I feel like parang kasi remember the stories into actually if she feels she was intruding on the Cordoba family, naramdaman ko siya sa when it was time to connect to the Kalida link. Kasi again, it was looking at vigilant, which is something that I've been looking for so many years. So yung pag-reach out ko sa family lawyer, may parang hindi naman kaba or takot. I just know that in their minds, parang ito na naman siya. Parang ilang beses niya na ba kaming tinatanong over this, ganyan. The Vigilant story started in 2018, tas hanggang ngayon Vigilant pa rin. So, yun lang yung na-sense ko. But, siguro the emotion for me was going to the fishing community in Navotas. Kasi these are old fishermen who have been fishing all their lives, as in dala-dala ng mga tatay nila. Who now, one of them, ayaw na niyang mag-fish kasi nga, it's not worth it anymore. And the other, nagtitinda ng ice-shaven na binili namin ni Iya. So, parang, the emotions were there most of all.
Pero actually, kung titingnan natin, pwede mong isipin na this is intrusion in private lives, pero what justifies it is the public interest issue di ba? Na yun na nga, merong conflict of interest, merong favoring of big fishing companies, nasa gobyerno siya. Pero eto yung maliit na mangingisda na
walang laban.
Oo, walang kalaban-laban. Ito malalaki na sila Tapos sila pa yung nagkakakampi, di ba? So parang where is the justice there? Siguro yun yung malaking reason kung bakit kailangan gawin tong story. It's not just for the sake of, sige nga, sino sila? How is this related to that on Facebook? Yun talaga yung justification for it. Siguro yung other question is, sige, ang laki ng discovery, malaking storya. But anong next? How do you push this story forward? Parang may accountability ba dito? Paano?
The case is still ongoing. The case is with the Supreme Court. I do hope na nabasa nila yung, not to try to influence them, but I do hope na nabasa. You know what's fascinating about this, Ma'am Chay, is bukod dun sa binigay nung initial na documents, almost everything we just found out. Na hindi na siya binigay ng kung sino man. I have been made aware na naghahanapan na sila kung sinong nagbigayan with them. Pero during the news gathering, wala. Tapos when it was time for me to state my findings to the people, just to like give them a heads up that this would come out, kung gusto pa nilang magbigay ng additional statement, the reaction was uniform parang, we knew that all along. What? You knew it all along pala Parang, it shows you like how so many things are concealed within government bureaucracy that they will not show you behind the press releases that they do. Even yung mga decisions ng court, pag di mo nakita yung kabuuan ng records, baka hindi mo mahahanap. So ayun lang. So for me, marami naman palang nakakaalam bakit nagko-continue. So by shining the light on the issue, we hope that many more people would question. Sana pati yung ties ni Secretary Chulorel to fishing companies, sana forever na po point out kasi it's a big conflict of interest. And to the international community also, who wants to make themselves believe that they are helping helping the Philippines. So now at least they know that this is what's happening in the local scene. Parang sa high-level meetings, pwedeng sabihin na ginagawa namin ng lahat to maintain our international standing, ganyan-ganyan. So I hope that by showing what's happening on the ground, then the international change makers are now aware.
Basically, for me, Ma'am Chay, parang as a beat reporter, syempre to keep covering yung mga moving parts pa. Ayun, hindi pa nga kasi tapos, natapos lang yung oral arguments, so wala pang decision. And also, just recently, na-dismiss po ang BIFAR director, si Demosthenes Escoto. Also over the BMS issue. So, procurement naman yung issue. So, ang daming kailangan pang sundan dun sa story. I think the two-part investigation is just hitting the tip of the iceberg. Pero
so may part 3, may part 4.
Ay, promise!
Hindi pa po kami nagpa-promise na anything. Pero ayun, it's an industry na maalaki yung history. And you get that sense, you get that feel when you talk to sources. Na yun nga, na parang they knew this all along.
Yeah.
They know each other. And then, when you ask them to talk about it, they willingly talk about it. Kasi parang, it's time na i-report or isulat yung mga ganito nangyayari.
Ang sabi nila, ang investigative journalism daw is parang journalism of outrage.
Galit, ganun.
Nakaramdam ba kayo nun, nung galit, when you were working on the story?
Nung nag-interview po kami sa Navotas ng mga mangingisda, ayun, that was at least for me, that was emotional. Emotional ako na tao. Pero naalala ko yun, ni-schedule namin nila yung story kasi dead end na ulit kami. Parang okay, kumausap tayo ng mangingisda. Para magkaroon tayo ng inspiration. Yun. Inspiration yung hinahanap namin. And baka pag kumausap kami, it will all tie together yung storya. So yun, nakita namin saan sila nakatira, ano yung mga nararanasan nila, na ang mga mangingisda pala sa Navotas, on a good day, 2,000 pesos yung makukuha nila. Tapos pag nahuli sila, 3,000 pesos yung babayaran nila. Na dahil nahuli na sila, abonado pa. At dahil nahuli sila, titigil na lang sila. Pero ito yung livelihood na for the longest time, ito lang yung alam nila na gawin. At yun yung minana nila sa mga tatay nila. So yun, that was, yun yung nakakagalit, yun yung nakakaiyak na tinatranscribe, iyakin yan.
Kaya Iya ang pangalan mo.
Kaya Iya yung pangalan ko. Kaya kahit tinatranscribe ko na siya, tapos maririnig mo kasi yung ng boses ng mga isda na parang naiiyak siya when recounting. And pag kinakausap mo yung masa, minsan sila pa nga magbibigay sa ng headline or the poetic lines. Like yung asawa ng isang mga isda na kinausap namin, hindi siya part talaga ng interview. Sumasabat lang siya. Parang sabi niya, lumilit yung mundo ng mga mangisda. Siya yung nagsabi nun. Tapos napatingin ako kay Liz, ay, may headline na tayo. Basically, that's the story na hinahanap namin.
Did you try to get the other side? Si Cordoba, si Calida, si Judge na... Anong pangalan ng Judge?
Judge Saldi Docena.
Si Judge Docena, who is already
retired.
Happily retired. Did you try to get their side?
Yeah, it's always naman the last required step before publishing a story is to get their side. So sa commission, kasi nasa commission on audit na si NTC Chief Cordoba. And they reply to all my other many requests with COA. So I know that they see the request. And even the office of the chief replied to my first email. They said, we acknowledge this email. And wala pa ako sa point ng pag-ask sa NTC. NTC emailed me on their own, unprompted. So my speculation is, tinawagan niya yung mga katrabaho niya sa NTC na kayo na mag-explain
Si
dyan.
COA.
Si COA chair. Kayo na mag-explain yun. So I know the emails are being seen, they're being received kasi yung mga staff nagre-reply sa ibang email thread ko with other co-workers. I know it's being seen, but they never replied despite repeated requests for response. Kay Soljan Kalida, we had to, kasi he's no longer in government, but because I did many stories on him before, I knew who to ask, in-acknowledge naman, sige. And then after that, seen na lang din yung message. So, I know it's being seen, hindi lang sumasagot. Si Judge na-reach namin through a family member, also on Facebook. So,
Also on Facebook.
hindi talaga, hindi kami magkikwit ng Facebook.
If only for
stay.
sources.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we will stay. So yun, yeah, hiningi naman namin lahat ng side.
So, paano yung, kumbaga on a policy level, no? Parang ano yung kailangan gawin ng BFAR, ng DA, Department of Agriculture, ng NTC, even ng COA, pati ng Korte. Kasi ito yung mga government agencies involved sa storyang to eh. If we want to prevent a repetition of this, ano ang kailangang gawin?
Ako, sorry.
Sige.
Hindi kasi yung
Lian and then Iya.
Hindi yung naiisip ko kasi parang nung sinisimulan namin yung storya, yung rhetoric ng mga tao, parang sabi nga ni Iya, alam naman nilang may nangyayaring kababalaghan sa industriya nila. Parang they talk about it as if it's not new, which is sort of frustrating kasi parang, alam pala nating lahat eh. Kahit yung in general lang na parang lobbying yung nananalo, parang commercial lobbying yung nananalo versus the interest of small fishers, they talk about it as if it's the norm. They talk as if it's normal. Tapos yung family connection, nung sinabi ko, nalaman mo, matagal na naming alam yan. So, for me, siguro, unang-una, parang i-acknowledge or i-bring out in the open na the industry is ridden with conflict of interest. And the interests of the big fishers have been winning throughout this year. So let's not pretend like malinis yung industry. So when Secretary Chulorel says walang conflict of interest, parang how can there not be a conflict of interest? Alam mo, nung bumibili ako ng isda sa supermarket, Frabel yung bibilan ko ng shrimp. Parang, how can there not be a conflict of interest when you guys control the market? Now you control the ocean. And now you are positioned in high-level spots in government. So, parang it's the regulators regulating their own.
Walang kalaban-laban ang small fisher folk.
He did say dun sa ambush. I mean, sabi lang naman niya, di ba? Na hindi daw siya masyadong privy sa mga BFAR stuff. Pero, sir, fishing tycoon ka pa rin. Anyway.
Tsaka siya yung head ng DA. So, dapat siyang
diba?
maging privy.
Pero, in terms of policies sa DA BFAR, I think they're doing the right thing in being strict sa implementation ng VMS. Yung gap lang ay yung pagdating sa 15-kilometer municipal waters. Kasi Sec. Chulaurel was assuring me, kasi ako nagtatanong, na kung 20 fathoms yung susundan, sabi niya, maano yan, malalim yan. Pero 20 fathoms would still be inside the 15 kilometers. So kung...
Time. Para lang technical kasi. 20 fathoms, so what? Pag 20 fathoms, mas kaya ng mga malalaking fishers.
Supposedly deeper siya, so dapat medyo mas malayo siya from shore, but it would still encroach into the original 15 kilometers. Kasi ang original is 7 fathoms. Yun yung kinapanalo ng Mercedar nila Monica Cordoba.
Okay.
Na pwede sila mga isda, 7 fathoms and deeper. So yun yung tinatanong natin kay Secretary nung ambush, no, na parang... So, as I was saying, yun. So even though may ganong assurance, still not enough assurance.
Yes.
Nakikita natin na, yun nga, historically, nananalo yung mga commercial fishing vessels when it comes to lobbying. They've been opposing this 15-kilometer boundary for the longest time. And kailangan natin yun bantayan. Lalo na even President Marcos himself wanted the Fisheries Code amended. Kung ano yung gusto niyang amendahan doon, ano yung pinapaboran niya, we don't know yet kasi wala naman siyang sinasabi. But definitely that's something that we have to monitor.
Merong mga comments sa mga nanonood. Merong mga nagko-komento. Babasahin ko lang yung ilan dito. This is from May Ocampo. Sabi niya, this is corruption at the expense of our fisherfolk. Very bad development. More now that China is harassing our fishermen. Tapos meron pang isa from Avs, Reintegrado. Ang tanong ay sino ang kumita sa deal na yan? Hindi yan natatapos kay Escoto. Dapat busisiin pa yan. Busisiin
daw ni Iya.
Okay po.
Sige. Siguro yung huling tanong na lang. Kasi, yun na nga, the reason why we did this story is hindi lang for the sake of, or, to intrude in the private lives of government people or government officials, but it's really to protect the interests of small fisher folk. So, after na nakita ninyo ang problema, nakita ninyo ang conflict of interest, paano ba mapoprotektahan this poor sector, the fisher folk who belong to one of the poorest sectors in Philippine society? Paano sila poprotektahan? Wala nga silang boses eh.
Siguro,
so, paano?
First, we have to give them the municipal waters. We have to protect that. Kailangan, they have that space where they can fish. And the government should support them by giving them the equipment that they needed. Kasi yung mga gamit nila, noon pa yun eh. And mahal bumili ng gamit. Sabi nga nila, I think it's in the Bible, teach a man how to fish, di ba? Mm-hmm. And also, regulation pa rin ng big fishers. Kasi when you regulate big fishers, you'll be able to protect not only small fishers' livelihood, pati na rin yung environment. You make sure that your stocks are able to respond. You make sure that your resources are sustainable for the food security of the country.
Mm-hmm. May dagdag ka, Lian.
To also watch Malacanang. Kasi when you read the story, it seems so detached from BBM, diba? Kasi kahit nga panoorin mo yung SONA niya, I'm sure yung fisheries code remark flew over the heads of many kasi hindi siya sexy story. But we want to highlight that he did say priority niyang i-amend ang fisheries code. Kailangang bantayan kung yung magiging amendment ba will go and lean toward the interest of commercial fishers, which is the interest of his very good friend and now DA Secretary.
Long-time friend.
He
said.
And now, the DA Secretary. Or will he listen to yung hinaing ng mga small fishers? Sabi nga sa akin ng taga-NAPSI, hindi naman sila nagkulang sa pagsabi sa Malacanang kung ano yung gusto ng small fishers. They've submitted resolutions, position papers, and NAPSI is under OP naman, so may access naman sila doon. So yun, kailangan ding bantayan ang Malacanang. Where will this amendment go? BBM has to know he's being watched. Kung hindi na-phase ang government na pinapanood sila ng mga madlang people, pinapanood sila ng international partners nila. Because it is a high priority with international stakeholders to prevent IUU fishing.
Ang sabi niyo nga in the story, di ba? The reason why medyo yung policy pumunta in the direction or nag-lean towards small fisher folk is because of the EU.
Yeah.
Merong kahit pa paano may konting pressure from the EU. But politics in this country can shift things so very, very quickly. Yeah. So yun yung babantayan natin as Lian pointed out sa susunod na SONA, which is July, this coming July, ilang buwan na lang. And we will see, pakinggan natin very, very closely ano ang sasabihin niya tungkol sa Fisheries Code, kung merong amendments. Pag narinig niyo yon at naalala niyo tong pinanood ninyong episode na to, maintindihan niyo yung significance ng amendments sa Fisheries Code. Maraming salamat, Lian and Iya.
Lian pa.
Iyan. Sa inyong participation sa discussion. Marami pa to, malalim pa to at magpapatuloy pa. We can continue this discussion siguro online sa Rappler Communities app. Ito ang mobile app. Kung hindi nyo pa nada-download, dapat i-download ninyo. Libre ito para sa mga iOS and Android users. Register for an account and join the community chat rooms that are of interest to you. Pwedeng multiple chat channels yung pwede ninyong salihan. And I am Chay Hofileña, and this has been another episode of Newsbreak Chats. Thank you for watching.